Welcome to the Biz Gone Social podcast. We help entrepreneurs navigate how to get known, get customers, and get the edge over their competition. Here is your host, Lorraine Duncan.
So here we are on the Biz Gone Social podcast, and I'm so glad to be here. And my promise to you, as always, is I want to give you a little bit of verbal caffeine that's going to energize your business and help you stay social. Because after all, don't you want to be the business that everyone's talking about? I know I do. And I'm so stoked today to have a really wonderful guest with me, David Van Beekum. Welcome.
Nice to be here. How are you?
Good. I am so excited about learning more about you and your business. Tell my audience a little bit more about your business.
All right. So the business is Tweeva. So what I'm trying to create here, this startup is about creating a local TV channel for every single city across. Let's start here first in America, right? I won't go too broad and say the world, but you know how you don't have a local TV channel for your city? We set out to create that, and it's also a community-based TV. So we wanted a way that when you go out to a restaurant or a business or a coffee shop, they might have one of those bulletin boards up and people would put their old-fashioned business cards up. And we wanted a way to digitize that, but also create some content for the locals. So this is the first really tried, social media business TV network for content creators, podcasters, and influencers to be able to share what they can create on this public little TV screen. So that's kind of a little broad overview of what we're doing.
Now, where did you get that name Tweeva? How did you come up with the name?
Well, it first started with, we were talking very local based, screens. So we came up with Zipco TV because we were thinking zip code. That's perfect. But when you start, you play with it a little bit and you say, okay, well, how does it sound in other languages? Do people even know what zip code is? Well, let's make this, language agnostic and create a different name. So we started looking for TV, things like that. And we found a 5-letter domain called Tweeva. And I said, oh, this sounds good. This is like Google, Twitter, Facebook, Tweeva. It fits right in there. And, it can be used in different languages. And my co-founder that sadly passed away last year, he was a little bit of the brains behind it and the funding. And he was like, Dave, Tweeva's good. I said, yeah, but it doesn't say what it is. He goes, no, people are curious, like cat. I just took Uber. And then they ask, what is Uber? And then they explain. So it's kind of neat to have that name in there. It's like, hey, what is Tweeva? What did you mean you put yourself on Tweeva TV? So that's kind of how we came up with the name.
Yeah, it's a great name. About how many, you said that, your goal is to get into all these cities, starting in America. How many cities are you in currently now?
Well, we're just starting out. So we're in Central Florida. We got 20 to 30 screens in Central Florida. So this is just a baby product. Trying to get some, promotion out there to talk to people about how to create their own networks in their cities. It's a different way to approach, it's not vertical content. This is more horizontal content. You have to flip your phone sideways. And it's a different way to create content. So we're kind of talking about it, finding those influencers and those winners in these different cities. Say, hey, let's get this started. But you still need to moderate it. You still need to build and, curate some of the content, because unlike normal TV that has, let's say every hour of TV has 52 minutes of programming, and then you have 8 minutes available to advertise. But then you got to sell some advertising to the car guy, right? Because everybody's got to see the cars. And then you sell some to McDonald's, KFC, the big franchises. Oh, and you got to remember some of the pharmaceutical drugs, right? May cause cancer. You may die, may explode. You get those too. What do you got left? 30 seconds to 2 minutes. So we have this different way to do it. Is we're creating content for the locals, but we're only taking up about 8 or 10 minutes for our content, local weather, what the mayor might have tweeted, somebody sharing community photos. But then on the other side, we have 50 minutes available for the locals. So we need people to create content.
Okay.
It's a multi-pillared approach, so it gets a little complex.
Are you a lone person right now, or do you have a team that works with you?
I have a remaining co-founder too, and he is helping. He's building it from the actually other side of the United States. He's in Utah, and so we're kind of combining minds and building out the network. And then we have a small team, some content producers. We also help people with their social media. So if we jump into a business and say, hey, let's create you some commercials, build out the network. By the way, do you have any, what are you doing with your social media? Because if we're creating content for the TV, why can't we share that on his whole network different networks, his LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, right? And so we can help people with both of those things.
Makes sense. I have it's interesting, because I'll go see some, ball games and watch it and go to a bar to watch it and stuff like that. And a lot of people that sit at the bar, they kind of want to watch, the sports,
Yeah.
or whatever's on, tennis or what, football, basketball. And so will yours be like a separate TV, or will it be programmed into the main TVs that they have? Or
Well, this is a separate TV, so it wouldn't replace a sports TV. It's not going to replace something that we want to see. This is kind of a replacement for, do we really need to show a soap opera at the barbershop or a replay of the same Netflix movie at the barbershop? Why aren't we showing local things that are happening in the community? When's the next parade? Mayor might have tweeted something. What's that new construction happening down the street? When's the band playing? What time on Thursday night? Right? Little things. Somebody takes a picture with their iPhone of a flower with the dew from the morning on it with the sun shining and the flag in the background. That's a cool photo that lives in our community. It might have been of City Hall. Where is it? Well, it's on my phone. Okay, but this is something neat that could be shared. High school football game, right? If you get a winning throw, winning touchdown, a soccer goal, something that could be shared. It doesn't have to live there for a year. It could live there for 4, 5, 6 days on the network. Hey, did you see my son kick the goal? Yeah, I saw him. We can't do that right now. So if we did have this local TV, we could kind of share that content. But no, it won't be replacing sports. It won't be replacing something that people want to watch. This is kind of additional TV on the side to say, hey, when you're looking for something local, look over and say, oh, that's cool. I see that, oh, that's neat.
now when you go, like say you're going to put it in a local bar,
Mm-hmm.
will you guys install it and set it all up and everything? How does that work?
Yeah. If we're local or we can find local installers, we can do that, but it's not a hard install. It's this little box, looks like an Apple TV box, and you stick it behind your TV, you plug it in, you activate it with your phone, and boom, you are on the Tweeva network. So it's not too hard. Most techie people could do it, but if you're not techie, we can always find a way to get that installed for you.
That's awesome. All right. So I'm going to switch gears here a little bit because a lot of people who listen to my show are business owners. And you have we live in a tech world.
Oh, yeah.
And so you have a great background and your Tweeva is very tech oriented. And
oh, yeah. I am the nerd. I am a nerd.
Yeah, I sort of am too, I guess. But I don't know if I want to admit to that yet.
Yeah.
maybe when I grow up I will. But so what are some ways for small businesses to utilize the latest technology that's out there and to expand their customer reach? Because in a way, what you're doing for people is you're getting other people advertised on a TV, mm-hmm. So it's in front of them. And so, small businesses, we have social media. So, maybe
Yeah.
expound a little bit on that and try to help my audience out a little bit in that way.
Yeah. So this could go a couple of different ways. People have been talking about AI, how AI would help your business. But it's funny, when I create also software, right? Previous to this, I would create software for businesses. I'd walk in and say, what are the things that this person does? And you'd say, well, I drag this file from here to there, and then I copy this person, and I take this. And there are so many things that would take the average person an hour and a half out of their day every single day that can be automated in some way. And I don't think a lot of people realize that, but you really have to look into either some blogs for automation, just whatever you'd have to look for industry specific. But you have those things like Zapier. I'm sure you've heard about that one. It looks complicated, but they've really simplified a lot of the pieces to be able to, let's say, send out an automatic email to someone, or if a lead comes in, drop it in your database, or if a lead comes in, you send me a text message. And those are very important. But as far as in the marketing side for small businesses, that marketing automation software is incredibly powerful. Being in the tech background and kind of behind the scenes, that's something that I utilize a lot. So if you can automate pieces in your business, like let's say somebody hits your website and they show a certain amount of action. Well, what type of action? Well, okay, he went to the home page, and then he looked at the About Us page, and then he clicked on the buy button, but he didn't buy. What do we do with this customer, right? And so with tracking JavaScript, snippet you can put on your website, you can actually automate actions for that. To say, okay, this person receives 5 points when he hits the homepage. He receives 5 points when he hits the About Us. But when he clicks the buy button, oh my goodness, he didn't pay yet, right? He clicks the buy button, it's 10 points. So if you add those all up, you can get a score for the customer and then send him an email. Or you can drop him into a pipeline and say, hey, this customer needs to be called back right now, right? Or send him to the salesperson. So there's a lot of little things like this that a lot of customers are missing. When I talk to other business owners, they just say, oh, well, they would contact us if they want. Well, everybody's busy, right? So how can we automate some of these things to make the job easier, to remain in contact? I'm sure, haven't you received an email before? Hey, did you leave something in your checkout or in your box, right? Those are the kind of things that a lot of small businesses, they go, oh, that must be really complicated. And it's really not that bad. There is software under $100 a month that can automate some of these processes to help you. Even things like you post to your social media, and if people click on those, if you have their email address or if they have a tracking cookie, which sadly I think Apple's trying to get rid of in their latest privacy. So we're gonna have to find another way to track these actions. It just helps to find that customer to get back to that customer. So there's multiple ways. That's not even touching in the AI world yet, but
Yeah.
that's some of the marketing pieces.
Speaking of AI, I have to ask this question because it's been top of the digital news lately, is the Chat GPT.
Oh, yes.
So have you played with it yet and tried it out?
Yep. I've dabbled into it. I've programmed with it, and it's a little bit scary, I'll say, for the kind of responses that I get back. I told my wife, I said, this makes me smarter than I am. It's kind of scary. I was on a recent podcast, and they were saying, is it moral to write your wife's 20th anniversary card with Chat GPT? I said, I don't look, if you're married for 20 years and you get a card and your wife gets a card and she's like, oh, honey, this is wonderful. She doesn't know you because, like you come up with something like that and it's like, your eyes are beautiful as the sun rose kissed in the morning. He's like, honey, that's not you, right? I mean, we would have to know this. But let's use it for the ideas, right? If we're using Chat GPT, use it in a way, you have to train it first, act as this, use these specific keywords, but you want to use it as ideas for content. Give me titles to think about, and then let that brew in your own mind for a couple of hours or a couple of days. go back to it and kind of regurgitate some of that content and information. Don't just take whatever they give you and then post it on your website, because Google's getting smart, and they're going to say, well, that was generated using this chat GPT, technology. Now, there are other writing programs and, services that do that, but still you're wanting to make it sound like you. I mean, Google is very smart. I think they have has to be over 1,000 different algo checkers, is this person sound like this person? When do they post? How often do they post? And you're trying to change that algo to be more of you, because they know if you're going to be on a podcast, they can track the text in the podcast, right? They're going to change that from audio over to text against your blog content and say, this is not even the same person. So you really have to be smart when it comes to how you're creating this content. Use chat GPT in the form of giving you the good ideas, the keywords, the hashtags. But if you're actually generating that content, I wouldn't do it word for word. I think you might agree with that, right?
Yeah, what I like to do, I was using this software for about 2 years now called Copy AI. And
yes.
It was pretty good. And so what I did is, first I went for the title, and then from there I went bullet points. And then, once I had those, then I could kind of fill them in.
Yes.
And then the other thing I really liked about it is it gave me keywords.
Mm-hmm.
So I only played a little bit with Chat GPT, but I figured I'm using Copy AI right now. I'm happy with it. And I'm like, but I have to I feel bad because I just got, I also am a course creator. So literally as I got, I heard it was coming out, I'm saying, oh, I should create a course and be the first one.
Yeah.
I just don't have the bandwidth, and that's the whole thing. It's but it's amazing. I looked up my name and it wasn't at all accurate. So that's what's scary about it. And I know another person had posted on Facebook that they looked up their name and they had a #1 best-selling book, but it was the wrong title that they had. So the thing is if you are going to use, this is for everyone out there, if you're going to use any kind of automated technology, you do have to check it. It's only as good as you are. And so you want to make sure, and what you type in. So you want to just make sure it's accurate, because you could spread some false stuff out there, it could be pretty scary. So
yep. It's why it's good for ideas. It's the ideas behind it. How do you take that? And you still have to think about it for a couple of days, because it's new information to our brains, right? That's why we're using it. We're saying, hey, give me top this, give me top that, give me an article about this. And you want to integrate that into your business somehow. I've programmed in it to help me create titles and posts and content around different businesses for, local businesses, but it still is not always accurate. It's always throws somebody else's phone number in there, or it might, use the wrong word. It's like, hey, here's this cheese pizza and put a Lego brick on top. And it's like, oh, no, there's something, malfunctioned here or there. You got to fix it, make sure it's perfect. So it's not there yet, but it is scary close, though, I'd have to say.
Yeah, and it's pretty, I have another, I love software. I don't create it, but if something's going to make my job a little easier, and I confess that I do this, I have my own written little message that I send out when I try to connect with somebody on LinkedIn. And so one day I'm looking for kitchen designers, and literally there were about 3 of them that weren't even close to being a kitchen designer. And I figured, well, maybe somewhere in the profile it mentioned kitchen, but it didn't, and that's, it's and I try to reach out to different, professions. And one day I was reaching out to real estate brokers, mm-hmm. and I got investors, which was good because somebody was asking me if I knew any investors. So it's I came up with this whole list of, hey, try this person. They said they invest, but I don't know where they got real estate broker out of this. Because you would think it would be searching for that exact word, real estate broker. And if it didn't come out, then you wouldn't be reaching out to somebody who
That's
is.
the semantic language with Google. That's one of their ways to check, if the word is similar in meaning, or it has any kind of, like if you think like a node to a node and there's that line in between, if there's any kind of connection to these other words, the AI will start to say, oh, well, let me throw this word in. There was a thing back 10 years ago, or maybe 15 years ago, called text spinning. Did you ever see that before?
I've heard of it, but I never dove into it or checked it out or anything.
Yeah, so you'd put like brackets, the mustache brackets around, a set of words. So you could say the red fox jumped over the fence, and you could say the red, quote, blue, quote, green, quote, brown. So every time you'd pull that sentence, it would pick a different color. So it would change the sentence. And then you do that for each word, and you do that for each phrase. And so that every time you request a new, information or new sentence, it would give you a random selection of all of those. And it proved to be pretty good, but Google figured that out pretty quickly, because like, what, you posted an article on this website over here, very similar to this one, and the only way they could connect it together was semantic, I forget what semantic indexing, I think they might have called it. So, a team of engineers probably can figure that out pretty quick, that we're trying to dupe the system and not come up with this content on our own, just kind of spam out the networks.
Yeah. Now, I always ask this to my guests. It's like, if there was, there's a lot of people out there that are struggling in their business, or, they're thinking of starting up their own business. And I know they're two different things, but if there was one piece of advice that you could give them, what would it be?
Well, the one thing that I should have done earlier is connect with somebody in the business world that has really connected, right? So with this specific, when we created Tweeva, we were just last year, after our co-founder passed away, we went to a business accelerator group where we go to venture capital, and they run you through this course of just hammer you on, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? And it was probably most of our first experiences in things that we should have done right before we even started the company. Build out a to-do list of these specific things, or send out a press release and check the market to see what kind of responses you get for the idea. So I think my first thing would be, if you're thinking about a business, go to a local meetup, chamber of commerce, anything. I mean, if you don't want to invest in a paid networking group, just go network with a few people and talk, because getting that little relationship in there and understanding that current market, or that piece of the market, there may be a huge competitor in there, or there might be nobody in there, and you can find your first customers. But really having that hand to hold with somebody in the outside, a coach, somebody like that, really would have made a world of difference. If somebody told us in the beginning, hey, this is a great idea, you have to go to venture capital right now, because think about it. The market, the Bitcoin was still moving up. Everybody was fine. It was before COVID. That would have been a better plan than to just be building out your whole product, creating every function that we ever needed, and then we launch, right? So that would have been a difference in to the tune of, who knows, right? Venture capital, you could be $50 million difference. So get connected is pretty much the overarching bullet point on that one. It's get connected with somebody local in a network group that you can kind of run your ideas by. Go have some coffee with them. Go get a croissant, get a coffee, talk for a couple of hours, and say, what would you do in this situation? That's probably my best advice there.
Great advice. David, I just want to thank you for being on the show. If there's somebody in my audience that, could use your product or is interested in investing, how would they get in touch with you? And that's basically how would they get in touch with you?
Yeah. So you could connect through, I'd set up a little subdomain because we're looking for a couple of different types of people. One would be that person, that the small business with foot traffic that would want to join in the network and kind of share with that local advertising. The other one would be local influencers that want to create content, or that they already are creating content for small businesses. So those are the two different groups. And investors, definitely love the investors too. Connect.tweeva.com. It's kind of a little landing page I set up you can select, hey, I'm a business person or I'm an influencer. And I'm also on all of social media, so look up either Tweeva, Tweva, or David Van Beekum, but that is a mouthful. So Tweeva sounds better. Just look that one up.
Awesome. And thank you again. And everyone out there, until next week, I'll see you soon. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Biz Gone Social podcast. Find us on Instagram @BizGoneSocial for extra tips. Check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, stay social.